now, this is what we're gonna do: create the Euro Yen as a live case, and a part of the Trader Dojo today. Was a continuation of last week. Said earlier that we're gonna use the Euro Yen as a form of a trade, and I want you guys to have a look and see whether if you are going to buy, sell, or do nothing. So I'll give you guys about 5 to 10 minutes to analyze it, and then if you already looked into it earlier, then let me know and you can go ahead. Who's actually, sorry, for Lilitha, John, Jason, did you already look into it? Do you know what you're gonna do? Did you create a plan for it? So if so, let me know, and we're gonna discuss them basically on a step-by-step basis. So you're gonna go through in everything. You need to let me know why you're gonna either go long or go short. Any questions in today's exercise as a live case?
No questions.
No questions. So you can use any methodology, method 1, 2, or 3, that will include as part of your evidence on either why you should go long or you go short. Alright, so it'll be interesting. I just wanted to know where you guys are at. Alright, here we go. I'll mute myself. So I'll give you, it's 11:04 at the moment. 11:10. Is 6 minutes good enough or not good enough? Do you want 10 minutes or about 11:14? Maybe make it 11:15. Yes, no.
No, 10 minutes is good. I think everyone's had a look at it.
And says 10. Jason, John, Lolitha.
Yeah, 10's fine.
Okay, 10's fine.
Yeah, 10's fine.
Alright, 10 minutes it shall be. Lolitha, 10 minutes? Okay, you agree to it too. Alright, over and out. Okay, let's go through and have a look. I'll start from bottom up once again. I'll start from you, Lolita. Actually, I want to ask first. Are you ready, Lolita?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. No worries.
One moment.
Yep, no
Oh,
worries.
can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Are we going through the entire steps as far as the macro fundamentals and all of that? Or are we just discussing if we went into this trade or not?
Mainly my question would be like in terms if we're gonna look at the euro yen.
Okay.
If there's a potential trade that you're gonna do the go long or go short, you're going to explain pretty much, why either you're gonna go long or go short, what strategy you'll be using. Is it M1, M2, M3? What evidence do you have? The evidence would be this. Based on the macro fundamentals, pretty much everything.
hmm
Yeah.
From where we left off in our discussion in the dojo today, it was a setup for M1. I did put a mechanical order in to go short, but it didn't take it, and I think I was being too aggressive as far as the price that I wanted to buy at. So it didn't go through, and right before our class today, I just canceled the order. But now, as I look through it, the current bar, though it still has time to either form a strong bearish bar or go on the upside. Right now, it's at an indecision, and it's at a good level of demand. So right now, I probably would hold off. I wouldn't do anything at this point. And I'm currently already in a trade with the Euro Yen
Mm-hmm.
using method 3 method.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a free ride now, but it has retraced some to the upside and I was going short.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, so your objective, nothing. You're holding off. Okay, thanks, Lurita. John, your turn.
Okay, let me drag my stuff over here real quick. So just to recap what we were talking about in class today. Starting with the weekly, it's in an uptrend, and based on the weekly, it's kind of in the 80% area of getting close to an area of supply. On the daily, when we were discussing in class, we saw this pivot, and we saw an opportunity to trade on this. I agree with Lolita. I think that right now, there would be a hammer or just an indecision candle. It's not showing a lot of strength to the downside. The sellers, they tried to push it down, but the buyers won. Even though it's bearish right now, the buyers won on this situation here. Let's see here. It's kind of even though the overall uptrend is up, it's kind of walking up this uptrend line right here. So there could be some movement down to this primary trend line if it breaks through this area of demand. If you look at the 4-hour, it just finished forming a pretty strong pivot, and in this pivot right here, again, this is where the buyers they beat the sellers on this long leg to the downside here, and then you've got some they're indecision candles, but this may not be a higher high, but it's definitely a higher low, so it's kind of stepping up. I drew some fibs in here for some some objective look at where it could go if you wanted to get a better price to jump in. Even if you go to the 1 hour, it's demonstrating that same pivot. Kind of walk through it, pivot again. Now it's bullish. So I'll echo Lalitha's plan, and that is to hold off to see what happens with this this candle right here. See what's going on with it. At least to hold off and get a better price if you were going to go in anyway. So that's all I got.
Okay, sounds good. Holding it off. Jason, your turn.
Okay, let me just go through the macro fundamentals real quick. So stock futures markets are bullish today. And for news on this trade, the only thing we have is some intermediate news for the yen on trade balance, and then for the euro, the French and German flash manufacturing for major news will be announced tomorrow on Wednesday as well. So that's pretty much it. And this is a yen pair, so it's a cross pair, so I won't do the dollar index. But Ray, would you still look at the dollar index being the euro with the euro, though? I mean, because of the weighting with it.
No.
Okay. So looking at the weekly on the euro yen, yeah, it's definitely overall buyers are in control, and it's in a level of supply right now, and the weekly sellers are currently in control of the weekly. So it can move down to the 38% almost. I mean, even said in one of the last classes, it's almost 99.9% guaranteed that it'll go to 38%, but at least retesting this level first. So we'll have to see. On the daily, I have 2 targets set up on here. I'm already in this, obviously, but at the 38% on the short time, the short scale, and then I also have the 50% here where it's validated by the intermediate range here, or that scale. So pretty strong level here. I have my last target to close the trade out here. And sellers currently in control of the current candles, but of course overall buyers in control. So definitely like a 2 to 3 day trade at the most. But it hasn't moved for a while. I've kind of been watching this because I'm really interested in this trade, and it looks like price is being supported right now currently, as Lalitha and John have said as well. So, but I believe it can still drop a bit more to at least the 38%. If not, no big deal. I'm happy with my targets, my stop. So that's where I'm at right now with this.
All right, beauty. Thank you. All right, last but not least, Dan.
Okay, you guys can see my screen. Hello? Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, I
Okay,
can see it.
cool.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm already in this trade based on M1 in that circle right there, so I just want to show you that. Okay, so based on the news, there was the upper house elections that happened on the Sunday. This is my Sunday, your Saturday, I guess. And what happened there is that the reaction on this sell-off right here was mainly, I would say, from that election there. So there was a bit of a sell-off and another sell-off here at the moment. However, what I can see is that my intention is to actually add more to my position, because I believe there is more room for this to head back up. What I can see here is that last week's candle is quite bullish, and if we draw our retracement levels from this level here to, now this candle is not finished yet, but it's created a new high at the moment. It's actually retraced to about 38%, and there's still no signs of a pivot to the downside, since this high here is high compared to that high there. But then again, this is also still lower compared to that high there. So the next week will be the critical point. If it will create a lower high right here compared to this high here, then there could be some more sell-off right here to the downside. But at the end of the week, if this one here goes to form a doji or even a new high, then next week will be the critical point to see if there will be a pivot to the downside. So at the moment, still more room to the upside. If we look at the week M2, the stochastic still below the overbought area, so there's still more room there to go to the upside as well. You may even try and beat that high right there as well. And then on the M3, as we can see here, there is a big gap between the 8 and the 10, and therefore it's just retracing to go. If it closes above the 8 and the 10, then that will be our M2 scenario to go to the more to the upside. So it could be a good possibility that this will then beat that high over there. So based on M1, since my trade was the M1 trade, we can see right here that the last low as well, similar to the weekly, is that it actually retraced just to the 38%. If it finishes like this and doesn't if it closes like as a doji, then tomorrow will be, and it creates a new higher low here, then that will be a new pivot to the upside. Then I will enter at tomorrow's either close, or I'm going to look at the lower time frames to see if there's any support of any demand level. Then I'll scale in and add to my position, because I can see that there's more room for this to head back up and beat higher highs and create a new higher high pretty soon. So that's my plan.
All right, cool. All right, let's go and have a look. So pretty interesting. Nice. All right. Let's see. Just 1 second. So at least you guys created a plan. See where you guys are at. Okay, John Luda said hold. Jason says short for shorter term and long, longer term. Okay. Okay, you should be able to see my screen right now. Alright, so only 2 people pretty much did the macrofundamentals just to see where it's at within the whole week, especially being coming up Tuesday. So you have trade balance based on the yen, medium impact. Nothing really tonight. You have housing price index, consumer confidence, low impact, but sometimes they do affect the price. Wednesday, on the other hand, you have a French flash manufacturing PMI. Both 330. You have your French, you have the German. Then you have the German flash services PMI manufacturing, and then service. That's 2. Yeah, all right. So there's quite a lot for Wednesday in terms of reports. You have Italian retail sales. Then CSPI, Consumer Price Index, low impact. Then you have Thursday once again. Then Tokyo Core CPI. Alright, so the major ones are mainly Wednesday, where there's a lot of reporting based in Europe, or mainly the euro itself. So the question is, what will happen based on this week? Monthly chart. Let's go through on the monthly chart. Last month created pretty much a lower high, lower low. So as part of that, this was pretty weak. I know for a fact one point in time they have to retest this lower shadow all the way to 125, a 600 pip point drop to the downside. However, we have a higher high, we have higher low. Bulls are currently in control, And if that is not applicable, but this is still pretty much on a lower high perspective. So 2 weeks uptrend. Here though we have a downtrend, but also an uptrend. Higher high, higher low, higher low. New pivot point, part of that, higher high, higher low. Next one is, the question would be, can they really beat this price right here on a bigger time frame? Absolutely, because it's still pretty much in an uptrend. Then you have from the highest midpoint through there, you have a pretty much a range. Within this level between 133 all the way to 139, another close to 700 pips to the upside as a form of a resistance level. So the question, can they beat this price? Or can the price go within the major supply? Now with being an uptrend, higher high, nothing, have a higher low over here, new higher high, higher low. Then technically speaking, the next part of the series on a bigger time frame should be a higher high, with the price to beat at 133.82.7. Looking now on the weekly, obviously nice clear cut on an uptrend. Look at where the bulls pushed all the price to the upside at 250 continuation, like in terms of within 1 week. New pivot point, higher high, higher low, creating a new higher high, 132.54, 132.34. So even if it chooses to drop by next week, then we have a new higher low before a new higher high, or continuation momentum, stabilization, continuation. But being Monday, you still have 4 more days in order for the closing price to dictate whether, if we have a new low and we'll create a new high, to have a continuation to go to the upside. Similar to what's happening here, new low, bulls can currently push the price. New low, indecision, push the price. New low, continued. New low, continued. Right. Since it's quite a big, pretty much drop from the high and the low, we go through based on the fib from that to that. So you will see 38, 50%, tried to do 62, didn't want to. Price is just currently sitting on the 38.2. Okay, let's go through a daily chart. New low with the new high, but part of the weekly, that is what happened actually here. A new high with the new low right there. So this is similar to what's currently happening. Retracement, higher high, higher low. Okay. Indecision process, 3 days, or actually first day yesterday, nice gap, lower low, lower high. Okay, next question would be is, will this low be formed via tomorrow? So I'm with John and Lolitha. I mean, if you went along here, then obviously you're pretty much in the money. Now I'm going to wait as well in order for the pivoting point to happen. But how do we know that? Well, it's not over yet. This has got another 12 hours to happen. Then you have another one. So by 2 o'clock tomorrow, we'll create a new low. But the question is, another 24 hours will create the price to beat this price. So at the moment, from what we can see, we have a bunch of series of lower lows. Right, 4-hour chart. We have a series of lower lows, definitely. No lower highs yet. It was the lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Currently trying to form a lower high somewhere, but there is nothing. So, and hence, in terms of 4-hour chart, can they break through this? If it's just hovering around, it might just hover around for the next like a day or so, just to wait for those reports. Could be another indecision candle or so forth. So we need to wait, part of the confirmation, to see whether if the price can really not go beyond this point. Then if so, then even better, good for us. Then we go pretty much long, right? Because it's still very powerful at the moment. You cannot. So in terms of your trade, Jason, on the other hand, you're against the tide. However, you also have pretty much still the probability that the price can drop. So you can still make money to the downside, right? So 30, 131 actually, it's pretty slim. Because if we're in the 50, can it go to 62? I mean, it could, but because such a big, strong, bullish run to the upside, this might just be, correction mode, right? Because you're pretty much against the tide. Right. Pretty much that is it based on that methodology. Looking on method number 3, price to touch the 8 and 10 at the moment. So hence going now with the end side, this is pretty much probably a rebound. It's going to go through a continuation, go next to 133 to create more new higher highs. If the price is more closer to here, then yes, a better price of selling. At this point in time, I don't think it's not ready yet to come back down, to be honest, because of the weekly is just too powerful. You need some form of a spinning top, indecision of some sort, and then to create a more better price of selling. So from 133 to 138 at 260 pip to the difference, still too expensive. So we can make another, at least on average 100 to 150 pips if we're not going to be greedy, just within, like say, from the top to bottom perspective. Okay. So there's nothing part of that. 4 hours is still on the bottom end, no change at all. But the thing with the 4 hours is that since you're here and it's just hovering easily, this can easily come back down on this side to refill that. Either it will one point in time go above the 8 or the 10, or this will also can fly. So when that happens, just spot the filling area. Well, if you see that pivot point, then yes, it can continue to come back more. 30, 84, another 48 something pips to the downside. Can it create a new low? Maybe it can even create a new low. Who knows, right? But part of that, definitely there's some room. 1 hour, back in level demand, entry, closed. Question is, can it continue more further to the downside? I mean, there is a probability, slight probability that it can come back, but they're fighting at the moment, part of the 50-50. Method 2, what do we have? Weekly. Not quite to the overbought, getting there. Can they move more? Absolutely, there's more room. Monthly though, it's just way been overbought in a while, so if the price will head towards closer to there, some form of doji, but we'll see. But monthly, there's no new pivot point. This was the last pivot point. We need another pivot point over here, that pivot point, to create a lower high. So in actual fact, that doesn't exist. We have there, but this is not a confirmation that is the new pivot point of the next high. You need next month. Right, weekly, nothing, because we have a new high at the moment over there. That's much more accurate. I'm pretty much looking into something. So if next this week, depending on what it will form from the doji, could be easily more continuation. But at this point, from what we can see, this is the new high at the moment. Well, on the daily, totally different story, because 2 days ago, that was your pivot point right there. So this might just be a correction before a continuation. No M2, because the price has to cross below that. Didn't want to do that, so I'm going to stay away. Alright. See, that makes sense in terms of looking into something. Yeah, so you have now a downtrend over here, uptrend over here, V hat formation on these two. So the question is, are they going to continue because the week is not over yet, or they will continue to go to the downside? Bigger time frame will still win, since last week was a very bullish week. So this could be just a correction to create either closer to the high or to break this high on a bigger scale. Questions?
I have a couple of
No
questions,
questions.
Reynaldo.
Yes.
When attempting to get a better price or a better entry,
Mhm.
is there ever, like, because I drew my lines for the supply area on the daily chart, and
Yes.
then when I went to the hourly chart, it was like 90 pips off or something. Is it ever a time when it's not realistic, but should I have drawn my supply lines on the hourly chart instead of the daily chart?
To get a better price?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you draw the trends on a smaller time frame, will give you a much more clear indication of where the actual real high is, right?
Okay.
Because if they need to be scaled, so if I go through that, and I'll just take this for actually, let me delete this. So let me draw my line from the last low, looking on where the pivots are, 1, 2, I'll just take that. Nothing existing at the moment from this point in time. And I put my downtrend from the last high with that pivot point right there. So you have pretty much within this empty space and that empty space. Okay, then we'll go through and automatically into a 1 hour. See how it's out of whack.
Right.
I put that into that high because this is a 1 hour, a lot of frequency, right? Okay, let's move that all the way there. So now you have a clearer indication on a microscopic level of the 1 hour that is the actual real high itself.
Okay.
Okay. And then looking on the 1 hour on the daily before, if you really magnify that to here, that is the accurate low. So, but the problem is, if I go back to daily, that might switch. See? This one is
Right.
correct, but here is
Right.
incorrect.
Right.
Let me double check again. Same. So it's incorrect. So there's something is missing over here, but the part of the scale. I think, however, there's an indicator. Let me have a quick look.
So it's mainly the trend line, not the demand or the supply areas. Look at, because I guess my question is, when you are looking at the lower time frames,
Mhm.
and you say, well, I want to get in at this price, right?
Mhm.
And so how do you know if the price you want to get in at, is that really realistic? Is it really going to go back up 90 pips?
Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay. Because within a pivot, within a bigger time frame will create a pivot, and the small time frame will also create a pivot. So here is a perfect example. You have the lowest right there, that's your main one pivot point. That's your last high right there. And then all of a sudden there's here one right there. So they're currently battling, right? You have lower high, the next thing you know you have a higher low.
Right.
So the question is, who's going to win between the higher low and the lower high? And now the thing that we need to really think is this low really going to be the real support? if the next lows didn't want to go beyond that low or beyond this low, especially this low, and then now see over here, I'll take that low right there, that low right there. I'll also take that low because that's a part of the pivoting point. I'll take that low here right there because it's also important because that's also a pivot right there. So you have pretty much a range with the lowest of them all, 130.79. That is your support base.
Right.
Support base being supported. Okay. Now you have a really good strong an area of demand right there, which is this is actually also the major one. But you know, if the price is hovering just above around this point, you don't want to go below that low, then that's where you go long to get a better price for the bigger picture.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Got it.
Yes, because what we really need to find is, can we get a better price for the, like say, you know, where it's already against it, you're in a level of supply. Where can we get a better price? The better price will be around here. But to confirm it is that we can buy around here provided that the price cannot go below this low.
Right.
Right. Because that low is the low of the daily of the current one right here. So tomorrow will be very critical. Yes, the price can come back down within this level as long as that low won't be broken. So say for example, I go back to the 1 hour and now you're in the future. So today's the 23rd, say now within the 24th, so it could be easily, the price can come back and we are over here. Okay, it will retest again, it will find something like this. So low within the lows, lower low, higher low. When that occurs, or that low doesn't want to go beyond that low and you have a confirmation of that, that's where you have to buy and bam, because the probability to go up is highly probable. Okay, so that's how they work.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, question 2. Earlier today you had mentioned, you mentioned again that the euro and the dollar had an inverse relationship, and this is kind of touching on something I think Jason had mentioned earlier in his analysis. So even though, you know, the yen and the euro and the yen are a cross pair, why isn't it important to look at the dollar index?
Because the dollar index is only mainly used as a weighting for the US dollar, right?
Right, I understand that, but I'm
Yes.
just saying, if it has an inverse relationship, wouldn't it give us some indication what the euro is going to do?
Because the yen, the Japanese economy is totally different to the US economy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. And then they will give different news, and then the news part of Japan will react based on the news in Japan.
Right.
Whatever news in the US will be dictated part of, in terms of, what do you call it? Whoever trades based on the US will be dictated part of the news over here. US is, I think, is number 1 in the whole global economy. Japan is either 2 or 3, right? So even though the Japanese yen is a neutral base country, similar with the Swiss to a certain degree in the US dollar, there's still a big separation between the two.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Oh, one more question. Okay, so we have the markets, the U.S. markets, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, yada, 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 and then we have the dollar index. And when they're in harmony, either one is, you know, the markets are bearish and the dollar is bullish. when we look at Asia and Europe
Mhm.
or Euro, do they have the same kind of relationship with their currency? So like if Asia is bullish, the markets, would their currency be bearish, or do we know?
They all going to be, well, in terms of the correlation between
Uh-huh.
two things, their currency will be weighted by certain factors, not just the economy, but also the
Okay.
dollar, right? Because the dollar is the powerhouse.
Right.
And with the U.S., it is being valued by the six majors to create the weighting or the value of the U.S. dollar. And plus, there's so much factors that to look at in order to create the value of the currency itself. So, like, say for example, let's take the Aussie dollar. One of the questions were, why was the Aussie dollar dropping whilst the market is actually the rest of the world is going up? And then it turned out to be that part of the reasons why the Aussie was dropping is because they reckon that it's been valued way too much. And because of that, investors, institutional type of trading, they took their money out from the Aussie currency and invested somewhere else and back to the US dollar or back to the euro, back to the pound, back to whatever, right? So now if institutional buyers are not getting away and they're selling, then that means that a lot of sell-offs, no one's trying to buy, hence the price of the Aussie basically dropped. At one point in time, they need to reevaluate again and basically say, well, we believe that the value of the Aussie really should be at this price, and bam, all of a sudden institutional buyers will go back in again and start buying. Similar what happened with the Kiwi dollar. The Kiwi dollar was a beautiful around the 80s, and then they stated like, well, the Kiwi is just way overvalued. So someone is always, in any market, whether we like it or not, is going to be manipulated. And those manipulation will be dictated by your so-called guru economists, and then through there, the viewpoint of the markets or traders will then put their viewpoint whether if the price will go down or go up, technically speaking. Likewise with the U.S. currency, the U.S. currency will also be dictated not just through the weighting, but you have your treasury bonds, all the type of stuff, interest rates, where is really the value of the US dollar also based on inflation. Then, the euro currency will also be the same, the pound was the same, the pound dropped while everything was going up because now they stated that the pound was way too overvalued. So, yeah, everything is about valuation. It's like your house being valuated. Who really values your property? It is being evaluated by the valuer, right? Based on what he believes that the median price of your house should be. So it is, when you really think about it, everything like in terms of price is not real. It's an illusion because they're just being created by some idiot out there who believes that he is the one who should really be dictating the price. And one of them is actually Bernanke. So Bernanke or the Feds itself in particular. And so what happens now if interest rates will drop? Or what happens if interest rates will go up and the value of the dollar will go up like there's no tomorrow, right? So yeah, they're all correlated. Just really pretty much just knowing really which one. But at the end of the day, if you're a swing trader, you will actually really see it even prior to it moving. And then the news in between is not really being affected by you.
Right.
Yeah. News is only going to be affected if you're a day trader.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Any other questions? Nothing. All right. Cool. Well, there's no questions then.
No
We'll
questions.
wrap it up and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, no question.
Well, thanks, Ray. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. You have a good night,
Thanks,
guys.
Ray.
All right,
Bye.
see you
Pleasure.
tomorrow. Good night.
Bye.